What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I am the Shredlord.
And we are here with an album review, the first one of 2020 in terms of releases. So we are going to review Haunt's new album, Mind Freeze. This album came out on Shadow Kingdom Records on the 10th of January. And these guys are a kind of throwback heavy metal band.
Very nostalgic.
Very nostalgic, like early Iron Maiden, Angel Witch sort of thing. From Fresno, California. It is unclear when they formed because I looked around for this information and could not find it, but they definitely formed because they have multiple releases. This is their third full length, and they have 2 other EPs, I believe.
Yeah, 2 EPs, 3 albums, and they're all pretty much bang, 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 bang. So the past couple of years, they've been some busy boys.
Steady output. This band also features 2 members of noted doom metal band that's come out here recently, Beastmaker, too. So these guys are busy on a lot of fronts. So this album opens up with Light the Beacon, and right away you get a sense of their overall sound. Very much sort of throwback heavy metal. Lots of good riffing, and honestly for the first time I've really noticed in their releases, because I've been listening to these guys for a while now, synths. There's a fair amount of synths throughout this entire album.
I like the fact that it started out like there was going to be this like intro track that didn't make any sense, but that was quickly put to bed. Like it kind of gave me the Stranger Things vibe for half a second, and then after that it was like, no, we're just fucking with you, and then we're right into the tune. So I appreciated that. Yeah,
really good guitar work on here. I thought the chorus in here was actually pretty solid. Like there was a good refrain back to the title of the song, but it didn't just repeat the title of the song without adding something that each line in between actually had another little bit to it. And pretty solid opener. But honestly, I think the album really picks up steam on the next track, Hearts on Fire.
Yeah, that was a personal favorite of mine and yours.
I dug this track, like right away. Like, comes in with a thrashy double bass sort of rhythm in there. Like, it kind of reminded me of like, you know, Metallica, circa Kill 'Em All and stuff like that. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of like 80s cartoon intros. I'm an 80s kid. I know these things, and it just instinctually reminded me of like Transformers and, you know, like just the intro stuff, because the intros always had like even better animation and like a cool theme song, and it just kind of had that quality to it. It was really catchy right away.
It could have been a B-side for Thundercats, maybe.
Could have been.
Or like you said, the Transformer movie, minus the part where you cried.
Dude, Optimus. That hurt. But on this one, they included some synths in here that I didn't care for. Like, they just kind of threw them in there, and I didn't think they were necessary in that part. Now, I kind of was like 60-40 on the synths on this album. Like 60% of the time I liked them. Other times, like, you know what? Just because the synthesizer's in the room
doesn't mean you have to use it.
No, not always. But for the most part, I really dug it, and the production here is really good. Like, it has like that real throwback sound.
Yeah, the guitars are nice and raw. When we were talking about it earlier, I like the way you described it. It's very organic. It's like the way the album sounds like how you envision the concert would sound.
Yeah, like 100% that live feel. And some bands kind of get a little too polished in the studio. I like that this actually has discernible grit to it. Now, the title track was the first one we jammed, and honestly, it did not entice me. It's honestly one of my least favorites on this.
I would agree. The synths were way overpowering everything else.
Yes.
And that was my first introduction to this album too, and so I was like, I just didn't want it to be a Ghost worship thing.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm not the world's biggest Ghost fan, so when I heard that, I was kind of like, man, this kind of sounds a little Ghost-ish. I hope the rest of the album's not like that.
Yeah, and like when you compare it to the bulk of this album, it's notably slower, and it just kind of feels like a single. Like,
yeah, I feel like that.
Yeah.
They made that to be accessible in a way.
But at the same time, I thought the chorus really had like not really a lot of impact to it, and honestly, I'm glad I listened to the rest of the album rather than just judging on this one single, because towards the middle of this album, it really just picks up steam. Yeah. The next 3 tracks, Divide and Conquer, Saviors of Man, and Fight or Flight, I think are some of the best in this album. The whole middle of this album, I think, is really good, and this is where the more thrashy, upbeat songs kick in.
They hit the accelerator pedal, and the harmonies, man. Like a lot of. That's one thing I'll say about this whole album is it's filled with a lot of really cool guitar work and really cool guitar harmonies. Very Iron Maiden-y at times, which was amazing. And so yeah, as soon as the middle of this album picked up, it was like, all right, we're done fucking around. hit the gas.
Again, this is also a spot where they bring in synths, but they kind of bring them in a little bit more clever. Like sometimes they're more towards the back, or sometimes there's actually a track on here towards the end that the synth is essentially the main riff, and then the guitar is the harmony on top of it, which was kind of an interesting shift in the dynamic, and it kind of made for a standout song. Now, the interesting dynamic between these sounds is, on one hand, I think of synth, wave stuff, and then on the other hand, I'm thinking of metal. So I felt like I was listening to like Diamond Head and the Cars at the same time. But it was interesting. It was so well executed, and these guys really generate a lot of hooks, but not so much vocally. I will have to say the vocals on here are serviceable at best, I think. They're just kind of flat.
When you're doing a nostalgic band like this, we were spoiled, right?
We were
spoiled with Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford and Dio and Jeff Tate and all, Sebastian Bach. All them cats could sing their balls off. If you're going to do a little 80s nostalgic, I want the singer to be a little bit better.
The singer should soar above the music.
And he felt like he was just doing everything he could to keep pace with it.
Hovering about 3 feet above it. Like I said, serviceable, but not like exactly what you want out of there in terms of just having the ultra powerful vocals that just feel thin. And even when the harmonies came in, you just had another kind of thin vocal layer on there that added a little bit, but not too much. But the strength of this album is the guitar work and just sort of the fun energy on here. Like there's even a song that's a little more poppy on here. On the stage seems like it's entirely major chords, and it just feels kind of happy and upbeat.
It almost feels like the Keebler elves have just won the war, and they're dancing, frolicking in the Keebler forest, making those delicious cookies.
Those cookies are fucking delicious,
Incredible.
Though. Closes well with Voyager, has a nice, very Iron Maiden-y intro to that, and once again, the guitar play on this album is great. This one has a really cool section here where they're just bouncing lead after lead, just bouncing back and forth, and the interplay between the two guitarists
is really good.
Like these guys definitely have a feel for each other, just because I think they're in 2 bands together and tour quite a bit from what I gathered. But overall, this was a pretty fun listen.
It was.
It wasn't all 100% nostalgia. I'd say it's about 90% nostalgia, to be fair. If you love that classic 80s metal sound before thrash got its fucking really extra grubby fucking mitts on it, and we love them for it, this is a pretty cool release. So overall, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I pretty much enjoyed this entire listen. There was a couple moments I could pick out that I didn't care for, and the vocals are serviceable at best, as I said, but there's some really good songwriting in here, and overall it's kind of a fun listen. It's a good throwback.
I'd say I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Once again, for a lot of the same reasons, I really enjoyed the guitar work on it. I just feel like maybe if they could have asked somebody else, like, I just picture this album if, like, who's someone new? Like Todd LaTorre. He's the new guy that sings in Queensryche. Or some, young hotshot guy with a killer voice. Like, it just makes me wonder what that album could have been with a stronger vocal performance. But everything else was great. I really like the approach, and I appreciate the fact that some of these bands are taking the time to give worship, give penance, I don't know, whatever, to the older bands that started it all, to where it all came from. So I appreciate that, and I thought it was a good listen as well. So I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
Retro movements are fun. It's kind of cool to get like a fresh batch of bands paying homage to their the bands that influence them, their heroes. But unfortunately, like this, the downside of that is it comes off as mostly nostalgia worship, and it kind of makes you want to go back and listen to the old things, which are great. Like, we're listening to Power Slave right now, and I still enjoy every fucking second of this album. But I think the next New Guard really has to bring out some really fantastic stuff, and I think this band is definitely on its way. Just, a few more minor adjustments, and I think they'll be there.
Agreed.
So, if you like the review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do shit like this all the time. Catch you guys later.